Welcome, welcome, welcome to yet another beautiful show, a beautiful day on Humanist TV Africa. This is Kato Mukasa, and today we are handling a very important topic, and that is under our new program, A Lesson in History. Our new program, A Lesson in History. This is the Humanist TV Africa, and this is Kato Mukasa. I want to encourage you to please subscribe to our Facebook page and of course our YouTube page in the name Humanist TV Africa, and you'll be able to see this and more interesting programs. Now, this program today is about the history. We are going to look at history, and we are going to be having this program. It's called A Lesson in History. But today, I want to take you through the history of racism. How does racism start? Do you know that there was no racism before 1664? You can research that. There are no like special classes between people until 1664. Now the question is, why do we see races begin to emerge from 1664? And I've just said that before 1664, people did not concentrate so much on your color of the skin. People were people. They were Arabs, they were the English, they were the Dutch, they are the Japanese, they are the natives. You know, people were people. The black people, who also came in different shades. Remember that black people you call black, actually have different skin tones. There are those we call jet black, who are completely dark or very black. There are those who are like me, a bit brown, a bit black. In between, they are light black. And there are, of course, black people in different shapes, black people with different shapes of nose, different shapes of faces, different lips, you know, and of course, different hair. My hair is short, and there are black people with long hair and curly hair. Now, people. So black people were seen as people, because when you look at black people, say in Ethiopia, they were a bit different from black people in East Africa, where I come from, Uganda, and they could be a bit different from black people in Sudan. Now, people were people, just like Europeans. That you could look at a German and you look at, say, someone from, say, Iceland, someone from, say, Norway, and an Englishman, a Scotsman, and Irishman, and they may have a little bit of variation in their skin tones. Now, all these people worked in harmony in the US, the present day US, or America as we call it, or USA as we call it. Now, the America as a colony used to be called the New World at one point. From about 14th, 15th, 16th century, it was a new world where people had always wanted to go to have opportunities. And remember that America, the one we know today, the New World, was actually once conquered and colonized by Great Britain. Britain was a very strong kingdom. Britain ruled the world. And I repeat that one. Britain practically ruled the world. Britain ruled the USA as it is today, but it was a new world by that time. It was a very vast piece of land, and actually it belonged to different society. I mean, different kingdoms, because even the Russians owned parts of the present USA, and other people owned lands there. So, but the biggest chunk of the present day USA was under the occupation, under the ownership of the Kingdom of Great Britain. Now, what happened is that that colony, that part of the world, the new world, was used for a production of tobacco, production of cotton, and so many other things, because it was a fertile ground for agriculture. And that time, the British Kingdom, of course, had the wealthiest people. The people were rich and owning these plantations, and these plantations needed laborers. Laborers were gotten from all over the world. Never be deceived that actually laborers were got from Africa. You'll be deceiving yourselves. Laborers were got as far as the UK is concerned, including Ireland. There were Irish laborers on the plantation, there were English laborers on the plantation, there were Dutch laborers on the plantation, there were Japanese, there are people from Africa and people from elsewhere, Asia, Russia. People were there as laborers working on the plantations. Some of them were being paid, others were not being paid. I'm talking about the year before 1664. Now, what happened is that there were some people who came from England, or let us say, came from the United Kingdom, Ireland, of course, Scotland of today, England, Wales, and others. Those people went to work on the plantations as are called the they are called the indentured laborers. Indentured laborers were people who were only given permission to go to the new world. I say it wasn't called America. They usually used the name the New World. It had colonies, so many colonies, including Virginia, where I'm going to base this discussion today. Now, these people went to the New World only with the permission of the British monarchy, of the British government. People in the United Kingdom would only be allowed to go to the New World to find a new meaning to their lives. Now, those who went there as laborers were what I've just told you, the indentured laborers, who were only allowed passage to the New World upon entering a contract with the bourgeoisies, with the rich people who owned the farms, who owned the plantations. Now, the contract was in effect that in order to be allowed to go to the New World, you had to serve between 4 to 7 years of free labor. Imagine an Irishman, an Englishman, a Dutchman, or a man from Wales or Scotland going to the New World and working as a slave. I'm putting it in quotes, is working as an indentured laborer. He's not being paid for 7 years, so simply allowing him to go in the New World because the opportunity is there. Now they could go there, they could work for 7 years without a salary. But these were Britons, these were Scottish, these were Irish, these were Dutch people, these were people who were Europeans, people who were Caucasians, who were as equal, as their masters, who were as equal as everyone else. But on these very farms, there were also people gotten from Africa who were also working as slaves, or call them laborers. Also, these guys were not being paid. And of course, many atrocities were done on the folks from Africa, folks from native, of course, from Asia and the other parts of the world, because of course, a number of reasons why they are being treated so. Now, how does the things change? Remember that on the ground, on the plantation, black people, call them black if you want, and Caucasians are working together, and all of them are not being paid. Or, it may amend it, most of them are not being paid. Now, there were also indentured laborers who have been got from the United Kingdom and only allowed to go to the New World upon an agreement that they work without pay for a specific period of time, upon which they become free. It means they leave Ireland as slaves. They leave England as slaves. They leave Scotland as slaves. They are going to the New World. Now, when they reached there, they discovered that the owners of the plantation, who were British, who were English in most cases, the bourgeoisie, were only 1%. They were only 1% of the population. Now, it means that the rich, the wealthy who owned the plantations, were only 1%. Now, the 99% were black people, were Caucasians, Irish, English, Scottish, Dutch, etc. Now, they are working for 1%. The British elites were extremely rich and owning the plantations. Now, a man called Nathan Bacon thought that this was not fair. In other words, there were also increased taxes at the same time. At the same time, all of them, whether you were Caucasian or black or Asian, none of them was being allowed to own land. They were not owning land. And the government of the day, the government of a colony called Virginia, was extremely corrupt. They were taxing them heavily, and the money was not being used to help the people who worked for it. The entire money, as it was taxed, went to the 1% who were British masters in Virginia. Now, Bacon had an idea, began rallying people together on the farms in Virginia. It was a colony and quite big, and told them, please, we must stop this slavery. They are not paying us. We are working for free. We are being taxed. We must fight back. What happened is that Bacon, and others picked guns. Remember, there was a law not even allowing them to have guns. But somehow they invaded their masters, killed them, picked guns, and started a revolution. They started a rebellion. And that rebellion happened in 1675 to 76. Now, there had been a law which had been passed, and that law was called the Anti-Miscegenation Law, which law had stopped people, of course, laborers from having a right to own land. Of course, the black laborers have been actually given more punishments than anyone else. They are being taxed. They are being not allowed to basically be part of the family. Now, this rebellion happened, and all workers united to fight the 1% who were the British masters. Now, all workers, what I mean, whether someone was Dutch, whether it was Scottish, whether it was English, whether it was from Ireland, Irish, they all combined forces and said, we are tired of the 1% British elites who own the farms to overtax us, to stop us from having land, to stop us from having guns. We are tired. We want our freedom. They began killing their own masters on the farms, took guns, and fought a bitter war between 1675 to 1676. Now, there was a problem. There is a law that had been made in 1664, which I've told you about, the Anti-Miscegenation Law, which was segregative, which was very punitive in action, which was promoting corruption and divisions on the farm. Now, what happens when the revolution happened? When the revolution happened, their British masters, who were basically Caucasians like them, thought that there was a problem on the colony, because Bacon had been able to unite all workers, all laborers as they call them, regardless of their background. They have been able to unite the Caucasians, the Asians, the black, All of them had united to fight one enemy, who was the elite master, who were the rich at the top. Now, because they joined hands and fought them and killed them, they elite, the ruling government, the owners of the farms sat down and looked for a solution. The solution was to create a class, to create a wedge. When people unite against you, what do as a politician? You divide them. You create confusion between them so that they cannot meet at par, so that they can no longer sit as one to fight you. This is what the 1%, the Bushmasters, did on the farms in Virginia. They invented a class, a race called the white race. 1664, 1675, 1676, they are creating a race. Now they sat down and began telling the Bacon and others who are fighting, who are Caucasians like them, who are English like them, who are Dutch like them, Irish like them, Scottish like them. They told them, look, you are going to be treated in a special way because you look like us. You resemble us. We are the same. Even when you are indentured laborers, we are going to give you freedom. We are no longer going to treat you as such because you and us have the same skin tone. We are now going to give you favors. You are going to own guns. We are going to give you a bit of land. We are going to give you privileges to marry whoever you want. And we shall give you a good salary. Now you can imagine the 1% has seen that in this club of fighters, there are people who have exactly the same skin tone like us, Bacon and others. Invite them, give them promises, tell them, put down the guns, and we are going to give you a favor. Because for you, you are actually like me. You don't need to join the Asians. You don't need to join these guys from Africa and Native Americans. You are better than them. You are special than them. So they created a class called white. It was from that time that the class called white people was born. Trust me, there were no white people before that. People were Dutch, people were English, people were Scottish, people were Irish. They never called them white. They never called themselves white. It was an invention created by the 1% in Virginia to divide between races. And basically, remember, we have one race. But now they created racism. They said, you are better than everyone else. You are like us. You are as white as this. But honestly, look at them and look at yourself and look at color white and tell me if there's anyone called white person. There are no white people. It was simply a racist way to divide between people. And it began in Virginia. I've just told you the year when these laws were basically formulated. And then, because of that, those who consider themselves white, which of course they are not, thought that we are superior than the rest. They were superior than the Native Americans. They were superior than the black folks from Africa. They were superior than the Asians because they shared the same skin color than the rest. And what happened? They sit down, they pass laws. No Asian, no Native American, no black person must own a gun. But a white person can own a gun. Remember, they have created a class called white, which was not there. And why? Divide and rule. How do you manage these workers? Now, it means that
I can hear you. I can hear you. Please, I can hear you.
I cannot hear you. I can't hear you.
You are muted. You are muted. I can't hear you. You are muted. You are muted.
You are muted. Yeah, you are muted. I can't hear you. I can't hear you. I can't.
Dennis, if you can hear me, please send me a message on our group. Yes, Dennis, can you hear me? Obasi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now. I can hear you now.
Yeah, the problem came when you were joined and then my network was lost. But it's not
Okay.
your problem, of course. It's not your problem, something to do with connection. I think the viewers will excuse us. We are continuing. Dennis, thank you so much for doing a good job. I think we are not off completely because we are able to play the images so that people can be able to see what I was talking about now. Briefly, Obasi, you found me discussing, tracing the causes of where the so-called white people came from, and you found me on that. You found me on explaining where a so-called class called white people came from, and I was emphatically saying that there are no white people. They were never there. They were simply created by who? By the Bushmasters, where in Virginia when 1664. Now, I will go back a bit to those who did a bit and miss the background. I did say that Britain, or Great Britain, owned many colonies in the present day USA. And of course, Russia owned some, and a few other bigger countries owned some. In fact, America of today had to buy some colonies from Russia. But that's not the topic of today. Because the time of the leader of that time was called the Tsar of Russia. Whoever read history, the Tsars, the kings, the rulers of Russia were terribly powerful. They had occupied some big chunks of land in the present of America. In fact, there are some states in the US today which speak Russian. There are some states in the US today which speaks Chinese, where Chinese is the biggest language there. But that was not the point I'm making today. The point I'm making today, I'm pressing where does the so-called white people come from? Because naturally, obviously, we can always know that white is this. Then you can show people what white looks like. This is white. I think everyone sees what white is. No person looks like this. This is white. So don't confuse people that they are white people. They are not there. There are no white people. This is white. Now, I was explaining where does the so-called nonsense of whiteness come from. It comes from right in Virginia, in a colony that was controlled by the British. 1% owned plantations, and then they were oppressing everyone else. 1% doesn't care whether you are Caucasian, whether you are Asian or black. The 1% are the rich, are the powerful. They don't care your skin color. And I always say that obviously, no one cares whether you are black or not. What people care from you is what do you put on the table. If you're a black man who is so good at sports, they are going to love you. If you're a black man who knows technology, they are going to love you. Never say that people hate you. No one hates you. Be good, be productive, people are going to love you. Have money, people are going to love you. Now, go back to the plantations. There was 1% who were strictly British elites from the kingdom who owned all these plantations of tobacco. Many were tobacco plantations. Now, they were the so-called indentured laborers. I'm now repeating it a bit for those who have just joined us. Indentured laborers were basically Caucasians. In other words, they were English, they were French, they were Dutch, they were Irish, they were Scottish. They were exactly the same skin color like the masters from England. Now, indentured, why? Because to be given permission to go to what they call the New World, you had to get permission from the British government or kingdom of that time. Now, and permission was only got by paying money to go to the New World because they own the New World. Now, how do you pay money which you don't have? You're already poor, but you are Irish. You are poor, but Scottish. You are poor, but English. Now, they take you through a contract. They tell you to allow you to go to the New World and stay there and become wealthy. You are going to work for us for 7 years on our farm without pay. So they became the indentured laborers. They are Irish, they are English, they are Dutch, they are French, but they are servants, they are slaves. They are providing free labor on the plantations owned by 1% who are what? British. Now, because of that, and the taxation which was had on them, and the lack of rights to own land, they couldn't own land, whether you were Caucasian like them, whether you were black, you couldn't own land. They were paying a lot of taxes, and the government of Virginia was a big colony, had lots of corruption, which was naked corruption. People were stealing money left, right, and center. People became so tired that a revolution led by a man called Nathan Bacon happened. And it killed so many of the 1%. Now, what could the 1% do? The owners of the plantation do. 1675, 1676, they are being killed. By who? Bacon and the rebels throughout the state. So they sit down and say, how do we manage them? And they were so wise. They said, let us divide and rule. They create a class called white race. They call Bacon and others fight and tell them, look, why are you fighting us? You look like me. We come from the same country. Why are you joining these black folks? Why are you joining these Asians to fight us? You are special. We are going to give you guns. We are going to give you salaries. We are going to allow you to have land. We are going to allow you to marry whoever you want. You are special. You're not like them. You are special. You are like us. You be on our side. Now, that was the corruption that first came in Virginia. Now, the forces were divided and said, why should I be now fighting when they are going to give me the privileges? So they ended up actually stopping to fight to earn the privileges. Therefore, a rift happened, a division happened between the Caucasians and the Native Americans, the Caucasians and Asians, Chinese, Japanese, the Caucasians and people of African origin. There was a difference now. What happened is that the indentured slaves were freed. We are told now you are okay to, we're no longer going to make you pay. Once you are here, you are free because you look like us. Number two, you can have guns. Who are they giving? Only those that look like them. You can have guns, you can have gunpowder, you can have a bit of land if you can pay this. Actually, you can marry whoever you want. Now, the same thing that were given to the so-called white class were the same privileges denied to the Asians, indigenous Americans, and people of African descent. They were not allowed to marry. Remember, a black man was never allowed to marry a white woman. Yet a white man, now they have created a class called white. A white man is allowed to have sex whoever they want. Now it means that they are separating a man, a black man, from his family. And that was the genesis of killing the black family. Of course, they are already killing them, but now from within that law, they had already separated. A black man cannot even have a family. He has no gun, he has no land. He's paying taxes, is not free. Even those who are free still cannot get enough land. They cannot actually have the freedom they wanted. Now, it was because of that that the divisions became so paramount, that a race called white race had been what? Created. So whoever resembled the 1% who were the British owners of those farms were called the white race. And from that time, a people called white started to appear. And they were now saying everywhere, for us, we are white. The rest are not like us. So for us, we are special. The rest are inferior. Now, they had created a race called white race. And they used the scientific expansion to explain it and say, if you are white, you are actually more intelligent, you are actually more knowledgeable, you are actually more powerful. They used what we call pseudoscience to justify their racism. To say, if you are like us, you are beautiful, you are powerful, you are special, you are superior. The rest, whether Chinese, whether Japanese, whether indigenous Americans, they are below us. They are created a class. White is good, Asian, not so good, but fair. Black are too bad. Classes. Begin where? In Virginia. Now, that's how the whole bullshit of racism began. And now, what were the effects of that? Blacks couldn't, they brought a law in Virginia. Blacks could not go to court and testify. You're a lawyer, you know what I'm talking about. Blacks were not allowed to go to any court of law and give a testimony. No one could take a testimony of a black person. Number two, black people couldn't be allowed to own land. Number three, white people only, because now they have got a race called white. Remember, they are Asians, they were Japanese, they were Indians, they were Chinese.
Yes.
They have three classes. One class is called white, others follow. Now, only one class white is allowed to own land in Virginia and by extension America. Only one class that has been called white is allowed to marry and have sex wherever they want. The rest, there's a problem if you do that. Number three, only white class is allowed to own a gun and what they call gunpowder. because the guns of that time used powder. Now, if they find a black man with a gun, they are going to hang you there and then. And the method of killing was hanging on the tree. Number 4, free black people still couldn't own land. There were black people who had been given freedom after working for so many years. They say, okay, you are now a free black man. But still, they couldn't be allowed to own guns. Number 5, only black people and Native Americans couldn't marry white people. Black people and Native Americans couldn't be allowed to marry what? White people. So even if a white woman loves you so much, because now they have said she's white, and she's not white, by the way, she's Caucasian, but they have said she's white. Now, even if she wants you or Basi so much, the law said she cannot marry you, and you cannot marry her. Now, it means that the so-called white class can actually marry a black woman and a white woman. But a black man can only have sex or marry a black woman. So it means that all women practically are for the white race. The black one, you must stay with your black. But still, you must be on the plantation. Now, what happened with that law? It gave what you call a feel-good effect. A feel-good effect. So those were white laborers, the indentured laborers I told you about. Guys who were supposed to be slaves, but Caucasians from Ireland, from Scotland, from England, were now like, we are better than the rest. We are better than the Chinese. Because for us, we have the same skin color than like our masters. We are better than Japanese. We are better than these guys from Africa. Because for us, we resemble the master. You get it? So they had what you call a superiority complex. They are better. They thought that they looked superior. In fact, they felt that the whiter you are, the closer you are to power, the connected you are to wealth. There was that kind of thinking among the so-called white class, that if you are white like me, you are powerful and you are going to be wealthy. If you are black, for you are caste. If you are Japanese, brown people, Indian people, for you are second-class citizens. Not so good, but not so bad. But if you are black, we're in trouble. Now, that is the problem. That is how classes were created right in Virginia. And I've told you, and I've been saying it, there were no white people, only there were people. People never looked at themselves as white or black or Asian. They knew they were different, but that was not an issue. You get it? They knew I look a bit different than this guy, but we are all human beings. We are all human beings. But the problem of race has started there. And who is starting it? Capitalists. Capitalism started that confusion. Now, that's how this race thing happened. Now, this is how classes start. Now, and the confusion was so deepened that people thought that actually being black was bad, that being black was a curse. And they lumped black people together, not knowing that actually, even among the black people, not all of them are as dark. Some are jet dark, like people from Sudan. People from Nigeria, some like you are brown, and others are black. There are those who are jet black. There are those who are light skinned. There are those with big noses, small noses. There are black people with long hair. That's like Caucasians. Look at Ethiopians. Look at Ethiopians. Look at people from Eritrea. You look at them, you know. So now, and yeah, I agree with you. We have the whites, yellow, blah, 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 black. No, that's not actually very correct. Now, I'm looking at someone's message here. But now, today, they divided into classes. People were divided into classes. They said, for you, you are white. For you, you are black. For you, you are brown. And of course, for you, they don't normally say yellow, but of course, they are also yellow people when you look closely. Now, this is how racism started based on skin color. Why? Because it was benefiting the owners of the plantations. Now, that is why we wanted to stress, first of all, the racism of the white supremacism. But now, there's also racism that has happened in the 20th century, racism thanks to black supremacism. Today, I was concentrating on racism thanks to white supremacism. Now, in the next episode, I'll touch on racism based to black supremacism. You'll be with me here, same day, and I will take you through and I will show you how stupid Africans, how stupid black people think they are superior than everyone else. They also have their own class of racism, but that will be my next show. I'm going to invite Dennis to first of all give us the slides. After that, I will invite you, Obasi, to give us your take. Today I was handling white supremacism and how it came about. But in the next talk show, I will show you black supremacism. And now, that was rebels of Jacobin Bacon's rebellion. They banned cities, they banned places, they were demanding for their rights. How could you break them? You could break them only by dividing them. You see the rebels, Bacon's rebellion, America's first armed insurrection, where these guys combined forces, regardless of their skin color, to fight the 1%. The 1% were the British capitalists. And then they had to fight back by dividing them. That's the guy, Nathaniel Bacon. People were asking, was he a saint or was he a sinner? I've just told you how he started the war and how it ended. So people are asking, was he a saint or was he a sinner? You can see the effect of colonialism in Africa, how they brought religion back in Africa. Those statues actually exist. People normally go there and watch it and see how slavery is trying to be, how they remember slavery and how it happened. You can see how religion was brought to Africa, how they were indoctrinating children in Africa, how to believe in absurdities, the so-called Jesus and miracles. You would see black people in the US were being marked with iron, a hot iron rod, where they could put the name of the owner on you, and it's painful. You know, it's like someone is ironing you. People are kept like in chains because they are slaves. Of course, they are working on those plantations. And so it was a terrible, terrible thing. They had to revolt at the end of the day because of that. You can say you were a slave, but they tell you that your salvation is in the cross. And they put a Jesus on the cross and they tell you, please go and worship. Of course, here I bring you some of the history of black surgeon who performed the world's first successful open heart surgery in 1893, Dr. Daniel Hale Williams. You can see that is a black man. Of course, you meet George T. Sampson, black man who invented America's first automatic clothes dryer. You can see is a black man who was also behind the innovations there. We can see these guys doing lots of good things. I'm trying to show you that actually the British slave owners were wrong to say that black was inferior. This is what I'm showing you in these photos here. And the 19th century black dentist who invented the oblate palate and golf tea, Dr. George Franklin Grant. You could see what these black guys were doing, even early on there in the same America there. Dennis, we can continue. This girl has been a great boxer there, very powerful woman. Our history was written by those who that hung our heroes. Yeah, this is what people actually have been passing on. That don't look at this history written by these guys and think it's all right. Actually, much of it has been distorted. You can see that these are guys from Egypt, from Somalia, from Eritrea. You look at their skin color; they're not like me. They are not like me. They are more reddish. Yet you call them black people. It goes back to family. Family was the most important thing. And these guys on the plantations made sure that they broke down the black family. They had to break down the black family so that it doesn't stand strong. Remember, when an old man dies, everybody burns to the ground. It's an African proverb. So always this history must be known. So I'm trying now to show you the different shades of black people, to know that actually not everyone is as black as me. Some people actually are more lighter. That is Mansa Musa I talked about a few days ago. That is Mansa Musa being sketched, put into gold, the Mali empire leader, Mansa Musa. Here we are saying we are the same people, whether black, whether Caucasian, whether Asian, whether yellow, whether whatever it is, orange. We are the one. We are the same people. It's about control. That's the message I was giving you today. That racism is about control. They are black racists I've met, and I'll talk about them in the next show. They are white, so-called white racists. They are yellow racists. They are orange racists. They are pink racists. You know, yeah, you can see blackness in different shades, blackness in different shades, and of course, warriors, women warriors there. And then it's very fast. Yeah, these are black kids, of course. I want to show that blackness actually can have different hair cows. Some black people have different hair cows than myself, but they're also black. These are guys from Senegal. You can look at their kind of blackness. It's different from mine, completely different. A Senegalese is more black than myself. Then let's continue. Thank you very much. Now, these are photos simply show you that we are from different, we have different skin textures. Look at that guy. Of course, it's an image, but they're trying to show that blackness comes in different shades. Just like we will not find a Caucasian who, not all of them have the same skin tone. Look at this Sudanese, very tall, but very black, because that is jet black. That color is called jet black, very, very dark. And of course, these guys, you can see Tupac, you can see this kind of color is a bit different, it's a bit like chocolate brown, but they're also black people, right? But you can see now these are Caucasian, these are guys from South Africa, a tribe from Khoikhoi, South African tribe. There you can see the San people, they are more brown, like Chinese. Look at Mandela's color. Even in life, Mandela was more brown because Mandela comes from a tribe which is more brown, you know? So not every black person actually is black. That's what I need to say. Not every black person is actually black. Please continue. Now, these are guys from Masai, my neighbor in Kenya, and they are more reddish if you look at them, not black at all. You can see the different black texture here with these ladies. Not everyone is as black as myself. Blackness also varies. The skin, the tone, the lips. You can see some of them have small lips, others big lips, others small nose, others big nose. So even in blackness itself varies. It's not the same. They are light-skinned black people. Go to Ethiopia, you'll be surprised. Go to Eritrea, they are more lighter. They are more lighter with long hair. Look at this Pastor Malia in Uganda. Look at her kind of color. I think that's even yellow with the Farida who is a bit black, you know? So blackness also varies. Of course, look at this guy, the one who played in The Gods Must Be Crazy. Look at that. The Sun people in South Africa, look at their kind of tone. They are not like me. Look at their kind of tone. They are more lighter skinned. They are like Chinese. In fact, they have a connection with the Chinese. This guy is there. And they're black. Look at this black guy with those eyes, those eyes, those eyes, safri eyes, you know, very, very special eyes there. Look at this. And these are brothers. These are brothers. One is albino, another one is not albino. Someone is going to say, this is white. This is not white. This is not white. This is not albino. And we don't know why albinos happen anyway. They lack enough melanin. Now look at that albino family. The mother is black, just like me, chocolate black. And look at the children. The children are albinos. Now people are going to call them Muzungu. They're going to call them white, literally, but they're not white at all. They're just albinos. Look at this person. She's black. She is black. She is black albino. She's black albino, I think, from Mozambique. The same black albino from I think Angola there. I got it from Angola. So you could see that even blackness varies. You can actually have a black person who looks like a Caucasian, but is black. You can look at others that are actually black people out of intermarriages and all that. Now, I've said my part. I want to invite you, Obasi, to give your take from today. I've covered white supremacism. How did it begin? And I can tell you, it was just a tip of the iceberg. In one of the episodes I will handle, I will tell you how white supremacism still exists in Russia, how it still exists in the US, in one of the next episodes. I want to invite you, Obasi, to give your take, but also to close the show. We have 10 minutes.
All right, thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you. I will say that it is actually educative It's an educative and interesting session with you today. Oh yes, I've always said it that history, anyone that does not know history is not knowledgeable. Forget about studying law, being a biologist. What I've continually, sustained inferiority complex among us as Africans is lack of knowledge of deep history. So
Yes.
that is what I've understood. And over the years, I know that stratification is a mechanism deployed by some capitalists and feudalists to divide humanity. For us
Yes.
to, yes, for us to forget that humanity, love for humanity should be the central thing. I hate to be addressed as a black. I always see it as being offensive. We should be addressed with our identity. We are Quebets. We are Akebulians. So addressing ourselves as black, yes, our skin colors may be black, brown, as the case may be, but that doesn't define us. What
Yeah.
defines us is the fact that we are humans. Is the fact
Mm.
that we are humans breathing. And again, what defines us again is our identity. So these are the two things humanity should be addressed with: our identity, in such a way that we don't overhype it. We don't spread supremacy of our identity or have that superiority complex for identity. No, but we can actually say I can actually say that I'm Igbo without trying to make other people that are not Igbo feel inferior. It's just an
Yes.
identity. It's nothing else. It's just an identity. Then color is something people should not be known with. Unless you are describing the person, you are making a statement and you needed an adjective. That's all. But that should not actually register. What should register is the value the person has to add. And everyone has one value or the other he or she is adding to humanity. But the problem is that this stratification too have lessened the sense of humanity that we are supposed to have. That is why, as we humanists, is part of our mission to make our people retrace their path. Division, a lot of things have, yes, I've noted that a lot of things have created division. Even in history, there is a kind of a white supremacy in history. I noted it the last time. Instead of BCE, which is before Common Era, the white supremacists that are propagating Christianity or whatsoever, we call it before Christ. And instead of CE, they will call it AD, Common Era. So there is also white supremacy, that sense of white supremacy and discriminatory values in history, in counting time. When you come to, yes, aside the fact that religion is an agent of this stratification, another thing is tribalism. As I noted, some Igbos will think that they are too special because they are Igbos and they will neglect the Hausas. It doesn't stop there. Even within ourselves, in our culture, do you know that left hand is discriminated against? Left hand is seen as bad. If you give somebody something with their left hand, they will despise you. But these are hands that are being created. So sinister people are being insulted. Even it has evolved that when you want to talk about something that is wrong, you use the term leftist. So discrimination has gone to the extent of extending to parts of the body. If it's not religion, it is tribalism. If it is not tribalism, it is ethnicity. If it is not ethnicity, they will look for all sort of things to use and divide humanity. Why? And we fall for it. So that is why I like this information. It is not just a show, though I know that it is not just a show. It is information galore. I will call it information galore because I learned a lot. The person that is watching us sincerely will learn a lot. That was why I love playing Fela's song, Fela and Nicola Kokuti. I love playing his songs. He will say that you should listen to me with open mind. He said it in one of his music. As we are stating this fact, most of our people may not even believe them. Most of the people that have been indoctrinated, we don't even accept it. They will think we are misinforming the masses, that we are misguiding the people. But they won't understand that this is a great information that they will take home. Yes, I've read a bit about this, but I think this show have enlightened me. And I urge our viewers, as my parting shot, to always visit this hallowed channel, hallowed platform, to learn a lot. Because where history is neglected, I'm leaving this for my viewers. Where history is neglected, infancy is infatuated. When you begin, when you don't ask question about your roots, about the history of humanity, about how we got here, you will continue to act childish and take everything at take everything at face value without asking question, and without being in love with history, you fall for anything, and that can actually make you a superstitious person because you don't ask question, you don't question things. So we Africans, we humans should question before concluding. We should ask questions and not allow ourselves to be infants forever. Thank you. All right. All right. Thank you for having me. Thank you for being on the show. Uh, this is Humanist TV. This is Humanist TV that always reaches out to humanity. Oh yes, reaching out to humanity is our ultimate priority. So you have to follow us. Always keep following us. Subscribe. Promote what we are doing. Yes, Humanist TV is the best you can have. A TV that is devoid of, you know, propagation, peddling of false knowledge, peddling of false causes. You know, you can't use Humanist TV to spread superstition. Yeah, this is a place where we serve you the truth, where we serve you fact, where we teach you critical thinking and critical inquiry. So always be with us. Always be with us on the show on Humanist TV. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Obasi. Thank you so much, Obasi. Thank you so much for the information, Council. Obasi, our viewers, is a young and very promising lawyer in Nigeria, and of course is part of the directors of this TV channel. Today we are discussing we are tracing the issue of class strata, how we became white, how we became too dark, how we became too yellow, how we became too brown and red. It all began in Virginia, where the white race was created. Otherwise, before that, the Moors were roving the world. The black people were in Germany, were in the UK, were in the Roman Empire, the Ottoman Empire, serving as army generals. Black people were serving as army generals during Caesar's time in the biggest empire of the time. There are big army generals there. There are army generals right here in the kingdoms in the UK. So there was nothing like to do with your skin color. It was always about what can you bring to the table. That's how civilized people were until 1664, when you have this anti-miscegenation law that begins separating people between who must do this and who must not do this because of how you look, the size of your nose and lips, and the skin color. So all these things start from there. Virginia laws that were so colonial, the 1% who are the capitalists want to take over. And how do they divide people? By creating a class called white, which never existed, because basically there are no white people. We are all human beings, different skin shades, but we remain the same human being. In the next show, under the same theme of a lesson in history. I'll talk about black supremacism and how stupid we are to think that we are better than everyone else. Thank you so much, Obasi, for that conclusion. Thank you so much, Dennis in the studio, Brian, Mariam Nasaji, and everyone watching us. See you in the next one.